Hello everyone, I'm Mike DeAngelo with That's Entertainment, and this is your Lost Gems review of Goroh Gx by Amusement. Nintendo has never really been known for speed in gaming. Before the Super NES, they were barely even recognized for racing titles. Their sophomore system attempted to remedy this with the release of a game called F-Zero. It was a launch title which utilized the system's Mode 7 scrolling technique to make the game seem like it had some 3D elements. But it still didn't really have the speed of a game that supposedly had futuristic cars flying upwards of 500 kilometers an hour. The Nintendo 64 sequel also lacked that face-stretching pace, though by then the cars were allegedly going around 1,000 kilometers an hour. It wasn't until the release of F-Zero GX that the series finally got it down to a science. Nintendo teamed with Amusement, one of the special departments of Sega, a company well known for their speed-based games. With experts at hand behind the development of the latest console F-Zero game, it seemed like a match made in heaven. The interesting thing about F-Zero GX was that it was the first game in the series to have a fully fledged story mode. The premise of this most recent F-Zero release follows Captain Falcon, arguably the most popular F-Zero character, who also happens to be the current champion of the F-Zero Racing League. Unlike the past games, there were some specialized, unusual objectives that tied into the races in the game's specific story mode. Falcon had to do things such as race single rivals through a length of treacherous terrain, or escape from a deteriorating building. Other characters in the game took on a little bit of the spotlight as well, including one of the original racers, Samurai Goroh. GX also helped to successfully paint the Black Shadow as Captain Falcon's greatest rival. When finishing the Grand Prix mode in F-Zero, you're given the opportunity to ask the racer you played as a question, which is a nice little bonus explaining intentions and histories of the characters from the ever-building F-Zero universe. There isn't anything incredibly different between F-Zero and many other racing games at first glance. If you were to give it only passing attention, it would seem like just another romp through a series of guarded tracks towards the finish line. But with a little more consideration, you start to see all the subtleties that separate F-Zero from its peers. Because of the advent of technology in the distant 26th century, hovercars have been established as a means of travel. Wealthy investors turn F1 racing into F-Zero racing and make a sport out of it. But with a new sport comes new risks. The racers in the F-Zero League are harsh and aggressive and tend to hold a grudge. What makes things worse is that the tracks aren't completely safe thanks to the energy borders. Things become even more dangerous in the absence of the guardrails during some races. Mines, jumps, and other obstacles and hazards also frequent the courses. Sometimes it almost becomes more difficult to stay alive than to come in first place. Thanks to the technical upgrades of the GameCube and the proficiency of Amusement, F-Zero finally presented with the sense of speed that it always suggested. The 30 cars raced across the screen and the track with impressive graphics, and the tracks themselves were beastly creations with twists, turns, ramps, loops, and huge jumps. A lot of the time, so much was going on at once your eyes could barely keep up. The music maintained the same tried and true feel that the series established back during the SNES days, giving a more orchestral remixed vibe that helped F-Zero mature. There are even some secrets that let you enjoy the soundtrack even more. Opposed to the great presentation of the game was the dismal voice work. Poorly lip-synced and badly delivered, GX may have been better off without vocals at all. With 15 initial tracks and 30 cars to work with, a ton of variety is available in F-Zero GX. All of the cars can be manually adjusted before races to tweak the performance towards acceleration or maximum speed, adding to the strategy. However, the game also has plenty of unlockables, including multiple tracks and cars, as well as difficulty levels. While the latest iteration of F-Zero doesn't have a randomized course like its predecessor, it does give players the option of making their own machine, customized with their own edited emblems. If speed was the deciding factor in whether or not this game was good, the answer would be a resounding yes. As the whole of its parts, the game suffers a little bit from an uber-high difficulty that is very unforgiving, as well as some unpolished portions of the game, like the voice work. If face-melting speed and precision racing sounds like it'd be fun, however, this is still the game for you. That's Entertainment awards F-Zero GX a score of 8.5 out of 10.